Yeah, hi everybody, welcome. We're thrilled to be here. Thank you for that nice introduction. My name's John Brunton. I'm an executive producer at Insight. I'm an owner of the company and the president of Insight. Beside me, Mark Lizakowski is a dear friend, and we've worked together for years. Mark was the first hire on Canadian Idol and came in to be one of the primary showrunners on that show many years ago. And since then, Mark, you may just speak for a moment about some of the shows you've been producing lately.
Since then, since Canadian Idol, I did Battle of the Blades for 3 seasons. I was part of the team, did Top Chef 1 and 2, and now we are currently doing Canada's Got Talent Season 1.
And beside me is Erin Brock. We also go back to Mike Bullard days, I think, was the first time we started working. And Erin's one of our top producers and produces a lot of shows in this genre. And right now is show running our 2nd season of Canada Sings. And we're in production right at the moment, and that show's going to launch in May. And it's an original format that we've created in-house, and we're very excited about. Erin, tell a little bit about yourself, please.
I've been with Insight for over, 10 years on staff and 15 before. Like John said, we met on open mic with Mike Bullard. And I worked on Idol with Mark and John over the years and 3 seasons on Battle of the Blades. Really excited about Canada Sings, which we're going to talk about a little bit later, but it's an exciting new format for us. So that's it.
Great. I thought that before we got into talking specifically about some of the problems and some of the opportunities and the details of the do's and don'ts of the format business, that we just run a reel of some of the shows that we've done, and then it'll give you a reference point as we talk about them. And I might also say as well that during the course of this discussion, if anybody has any questions at any time, would like to engage in a conversation about any specific nature of what we do, or any number of the subjects we're going to bring up over the course of the next hour, please don't hesitate to put your hand up, and we'd be pleased to have an open dialogue throughout. So if you can run the videotape, please, that would be great.
I could see you perform all night. It was just sensational.
Get ready, Canada. Now it's our turn.
It's a show where everything and anything is possible.
Come on, you got your soul.
It's a love story between figure skating and hockey.
How difficult that is.
Do you know how close you just almost hit your head?
You've just invented a skating move.
It's the biggest culinary competition in the country, and we've assembled some of the nation's best chefs to battle it out for the title of Canada's Top Chef.
I'm gonna bring it hard. Oh! I wanna kick everyone's ass.
You heartless.
That boy is the competition, so you better be ready to play this game.
I'd like to see an artist that's signed to a record label trying to do this.
We're absolutely top 22.
So tough, as of last night, you made Canadian Idol the most watched series in Canadian television history. It's my life, it's now or never. We belong together. I was the last to know you knew exactly what you would do. And it's raining more than ever. Know that we'll still have each other. You can stand in the line.
Project Runway Canada.
Disaster.
This is Dukes of Hazzard on acid.
It's amazing.
I'm proud of you.
This is where the magic happens.
This is ridiculous.
You've been an obnoxious jerk.
Only one will rule the runway and win everything they need to start their own fashion line. And remember, fashion isn't always pretty.
This is Canada Sings, the ultimate Glee Club showdown that starts in the workplace and ends up on our stage. We scoured the country and discovered amazing hidden talents in everyday Canadians. Each episode, 2 teams rehearse day and night to perfect a performance that could earn them money for a charity that is close to their hearts. Our unlikely superstars will be judged by music veterans Vanilla Ice, Jen Arden, and Pierre Bouvier. It is showtime on Canada Sings.
Deal or no deal, Canada?
Oh, Canada.
What kind of game is this?
He said, I look at this guy and I know he's a quitter. Deal or no deal?
Ladies, take it out. Do you look good naked?
I am definitely the best racer in the country, by far.
Look, he's making his move.
Sorry, but for you, the race is over.
He really threw himself into career and his family, and then it all came tumbling down.
You need heroin, man. Pretty sick.
Things that mattered to him before didn't matter anymore.
If he doesn't get treatment, he's going to be dead. John, come on in.
He's going to end up on the street with nothing for the rest of his life, or he could die.
Thank you. So that's an example of some of the formats that we've been working on over the last few years. A few of those formats are originally created by our company, and a number of others are formats that either companies around the world have approached us to produce. It really all started with Canadian Idol in terms of our first format, and the success of that program put us in a target-rich environment where format rights holders from around the world, continued to come to us asking us if we take a look at the potential of how their format might do in Canada. At the same time, being a company that has rented a lot of formats, we really aggressively, quite a few years ago, started focusing a lot of attention on creating our own formats, and we're currently exploiting a number of our own formats internationally, and have a number in the works right now that we've developed. But I thought we might start the conversation by 2 examples of 2 Canadian formats that one which failed and one which succeeded enormously, because I think the story behind it is kind of interesting. We came up with an idea to do a show based on finding Canada's fastest race car driver. It's called Star Racer. There was a little clip of it there. And Erin was heavily involved in the project, and it was really interesting. We thought it would be really exciting, have an element of danger. We booked Paul Tracy, a huge Canadian superstar, to be one of the judging panel. We had an enormous support from the Discovery Channel, but as we dug more into and it was about open wheel racing as opposed to NASCAR stock car style racing, and open wheel racing, Formula One style racing is incredibly popular throughout South America, throughout Europe, Japan, literally all over the world. except Canada, really. And to the point where the only Formula One race that we had in Canada, Montreal lost. So we just thought, what an exciting concept for a program. And we really, I think, did a great job executing the idea. If only we'd done it in another country. So it was kind of interesting that we started off not really paying enough attention when it came to the subject matter of that particular show, that there wasn't a large enough fan base. You know, Mark is producing Top Chef now, amongst other shows, and everybody eats. And similarly, you know, Canada Sings, which Erin is producing right at the moment. It's a singing competition that many people can relate to, and the concept is that everyday people put a glee club together to perform to win money for charity, and it's highly relatable, and it's a project we think is going to sell all over the world. So it was interesting as we reacted to a show we were very proud of, but felt that there wasn't a large enough audience in Canada. The reaction to that was a show we did called Battle of the Blades. And, you know, in Canada, you're not really a town unless you have a skating rink, an arena. It's the focal point of a town. And in that town, you know, kids play hockey and they figure skate, and those two sports are side by side in dressing rooms, and figure skating and hockey really defines our Nordic Canadian culture in so many ways. So putting those two dressing rooms together wasn't too far a stretch. What was important is that there was a show called Skating with Celebrities that failed miserably in Canada, didn't get any ratings at all. So
And
something
the US
that,
as well, didn't do it at all.
something that I'd like to talk about is credibility. But we realized if we got hockey players that could really skate and were strong, that they could master some of the most exciting aspects of pair skating, and that a lot of young hockey players, when the female figure skaters would come on to take the ice after them, they'd skate a little harder, they'd shoot a little harder. They were hoping, boy, I'd die and go to heaven if I could date one of those beautiful figure skating girls. It was something deeply etched in our culture anyways. Part of the success of that program was the fact that we could deliver exciting, dynamic figure skating for figure skating fans, of which we knew there were a few million television fans in Canada based on ratings, and then hockey on top of that. Of course, Hockey Night in Canada is the most successful show in the CBC's history. So it led to an issue of credibility. Anyways, we reacted so dramatically from Star Racer not really being culturally iconic in Canada by creating a show that was the ultimate culturally rooted show in Canada, almost on opposite extremes in a sense. But it was an interesting learning experience for us. Don't ever take on a format that won't work culturally here. We knew that we'd find good singers. We knew we could find good chefs. We knew we could find good fashion designers, but not with a hell of a lot of research beforehand. So maybe you guys would like to talk a bit about the credibility issue.
Yeah, like when it comes to, like, I can speak to Top Chef. When it comes to that show, one of the big things is you got to keep it was about fine dining. It was about, we've all been to fine dining restaurants. I'm sure everyone got to a restaurant last night that they enjoyed and while they've been here. And you've got to find a way. Casting is key to these shows, and Erin can speak to this as well, because she's amazing at it as well. And casting is very important because you've got to find the people that are really interesting. Like, story, Erin can speak to as well. Story is casting and story are the two fundamental things with any television show, and I think we all know this as TV makers ourselves. So when you have to pick credible casts. You have to pick credible key casts and credible competitors as well. That is really key. And if you look at Blades, you look at Top Chef, you look at Runway, you look at Canada Sings is different though. It's a whole different thing. It's a discovery thing.
Mm-hmm. Canada Sings is about story. And I think we really believe this across the board in any show that we do. And you guys can jump on me here if you think differently, but we really believe that if you don't care about who you're watching, it really doesn't matter. So we approach every show that we cast whether it be everyday Canadians, whether it be celebrity judges, whatever it is. It's like there has to be an integrity, a credibility, and a certain degree of heart and soul to what they are going to bring to the program, or else it doesn't matter. So we really approach everything that way, and we believe that the key ingredients to a successful original format or a format, an international format that we're doing, is casting, is story, because if you don't care about them, you don't care about their performance. You don't care about how they perform in the kitchen. You don't care about the design that they make. And then obviously, what is our third thing? Casting, story.
Well, casting a story and then also making it. That's how people always ask, how do you make the format
make it Canadian? Yeah.
How do you make a format Canadian? My thing is cast Canadians. It's a fairly basic thing. I know it seems simple. And cast people that are relatable. Cast people like, I know this person next door. Like, I think I can know that person. That's why Canadian Idol did so well. We love American Idol. We love the show. We love the showbiz and the glamour. But my thing is, you want to see your neighbor on the stage. You want to see the person in the town over, like, oh, I know this, I know that person, or I know of that person, or that person could be my next door neighbor. That's what makes it work.
I think there's another thing with Canadian Idol. Every single format that we've done, other than the ones that we've created ourselves, which is a different story, we've found what is uniquely Canadian about that particular idea. So on Idol, for example, we were the first country that allowed musicians to play with instruments on that show. And it was kind of viewed as a bit of a karaoke contest in America. And we really said, geez, we come from a country of singer-songwriters and the Gordon Lightfoots and the Neil Youngs and so on and so forth. And we really felt that that was partly defining the DNA of who we were musically. And so we made certain adjustments on that program that we really felt represented our musical scene. Canadians love rock. Brits love pop. There are certain things
America
that were
loves R&B and soul.
and harder to sell R&B and soul here in Canada, both record sales and other things. So in terms of our casting, we tried to cast again to the audience that was likely to be turned on. Country's a big thing here. Country singers in the UK, not so much. So, you know, with everything that we do, you know, Mark can speak to this, the Canadianness of Top Chef, you can speak to it on your show as well. I mean, it's really important to find what in that international format's got Canadian DNA, and if it doesn't, I think you're going to struggle to find audiences.
And the big reason we feel that is that we're so exposed to the American market that when we do these big formats, what will separate us? What will make Canadians identify with our programming or want to see our programming because it feels real to them? So that's really the third thing that we work very hard to do when we work on both original and international formats.
And the other thing, you really have to, this is more for a rented format. If it's a format people love, Idol, Got Talent, Top Chef, you have to stay true to the base of the format. There's always a base principle to every one of these shows, and you have to then go, okay, so on Idol, person walks in room, person sings song, judges judge, audience votes, one winner. In the case of Top Chef, you cook a dish, you taste a dish. You know, there are format points that you must follow. Don't feel that you, in the first season, you can change everything and like, the format works for a reason. The network will want it that way. So my feeling is always try and do it as much as you can, follow their thing, and find your unique Canadian little moments. Like with Deal or No Deal, there was the set, there was like the Looney and the Toonie, which I thought was like one of those, I didn't do that show, but the Looney and Toonie, like that makes total sense. It's that little cherry on the sundae that makes you go, oh, now I get it. It's like that's a Canadian element.
Well, Howie Mandel, of course, being the host of that show, made it a no-brainer in many ways. You know, the complication, there's an advantage where Canada sits because many of these big formats, the Idols, the Got Talents, Deal or No Deal, have built up such popularity that it's a known quantity coming into this country. But the downside of that is that the production values that are brought to the US shows have to be considered when you produce the Canadian version. If you look like the really shitty Canadian example of a US format with crappy lighting and not the big shiny floor show, and you know they've got Howie Mandel, but we got some comic you've never heard of. is a major issue, and we're competing for fans being matched up against that U.S. version. So, for example, on Got Talent, it was so crucial for us to get an iconic Canadian comedian to be the cornerstone of our judging panel, and we worked so hard to get Martin Short to be that guy, because we thought, not only can he compete with Howie Mandel, in many ways as an ad-libber and for a whole bunch of reasons, we thought not only could he'd be as good as Howie, but perhaps he could be even better. How can we put together a panel that's more compelling than the U.S. show? What are the elements of our program that are going to really separate us from the U.S. show, but also have production values that equal what the U.S. show is doing to the best of our ability? To Erin's point, the one thing that we can compete with the U.S. guys on all day long is storytelling. And we think we're better storytellers than the U.S. guys. And we think that our audience want to see a little bit more heart and soul, a little bit more emotion, a little bit more in depth, not as much ram bam, thank you ma'am. So that can be a distinguishing element, but Canada's in a very weird place because we're competing against this monstrous elephant to the south. And for Canadian formats to be able to survive against those U.S. versions require a lot of innovation, a lot of production value, and a lot of money. And
but we also have to be very careful with our money.
Sponsorship, advertising, integrated advertising opportunities, so the broadcasters here can figure out a way to make a buck on these high-priced shows is part of our survival. And we spend an enormous amount of time with our broadcast partners figuring out how we can maximize their advertising dollars in the shows that we're doing. It's crucial. Often these shows don't get the same kind of financial support that scripted shows do that we do, comedy and dramas and movies and such. So they have to have the ability to have more appeal to advertisers. And the nature of the structure of these shows often allows more advertising. You should talk about that on Top Chef.
Yeah, like with integration, people always say, oh, you're over commercializing the show. If you look at season 1 of Top Chef, you'll know it's actually a perfect integration kind of show. You've got, we had I have to be careful not to say the season 2 ones, because they're on the top of my head. We're actually cutting them right now. So we have the GE Monogram Kitchen, which is the part of which is baked into the prize. The winner wins $100,000 cash, which comes from the production budget. They also win a $30,000 GE Monogram Kitchen, as well as the title that goes with it. But you've got little challenges throughout the show where you've got Le Creuset pots as the prize. You've got like food challenges. You've got the dairy farmers. The dairy farmers sponsored, and the chefs had to all make things with cheese, Canadian cheese, and that became a through and through storyline for the whole episode, and people really enjoyed it because people also love cheese. We had a whole Cheese-a-Palooza discussion. We had Dan Aykroyd came on the show and he brought his Crystal Head vodka, which is really cool, and you couldn't even get it on Ontario when the show was on. And it was one of those things where Dan came on, he just wanted to promote his vodka, and he also there was a media buy attached to that. So it was one of those things where the food, which is the star of the show on Food Network, as much as the chefs would like to think they're the stars, the food is really the star on that network. The integration also became the star, and the clients were so happy because their product became the star. We did an all brand challenge in season 1 where they had to make a dish using all brand. And everyone knows to make cereal, but the client loved it because the client said, well, now we have these recipes we can put in our boxes as seen on Top Chef. So it became a really natural thing for the show, and the integration didn't become an afterthought. It was like, well, that's the star of the moment right now in this particular episode. And because you have so many challenges, you can basically have so many different integrations and different clients in the whole course of the series, which then the network can charge quite a bit of money for, which they love.
It's interesting. If you cross the line, and it's a fine line, you can completely alienate your audiences with advertising integrations in a program. But what's very interesting in the research is that the younger the viewer is, the less offended they are by commercialization in a television show. I remember when I saw Idol the first time and I saw the Coca-Cola glasses on the desk, I thought, that's so blatant and in your face. And the older viewers were slightly offended by it, and the core audience didn't mind it at all. And the research suggested that it was one of the most successful integrations in the program. And it was very simple. Who can't put a couple of cups on a desk? And quite often we as showmakers sometimes are a little bit too pure about that integration, but it's a profit and loss situation. So many producers in Canada have lived on government support of our industry. And on a lot of these shows that we're talking about today, we've got to stand on our own 2 feet. The show's got to be economically successful on their own, or they don't survive. And a different mentality goes into that experience as opposed to, our scripted experience where we seem to be a lot more pure about how we deal with commercialization in the body of our storytelling. But it's this is a genre where it's commonplace now, and it's expected, and audiences aren't nearly as offended sometimes as to commercial integrations in these projects as the producers are themselves.
It adds a certain amount of reality as well, because we live in a world with brands, we live in a world with things. On Canada's Got Talent, all the semifinalists are winning BlackBerry Bolts and BlackBerry Playbooks. We just went across the country, and we were telling people that they were gotten to the semifinals, and which is a bit of an academic thing for them because they don't really know what the semifinals are. And then we give out the playbook and the bold, and they're like, "Oh my God!" and they get really excited. So it's almost like they're completely accepting it. They completely want it. It's one of those things they're completely open to.
Erin, talk to us a little bit about, we're in the midst of production right now on Canada Sings. It's an original format of ours, and we've got a very, very, very exciting international distribution opportunity, and countries are interested all over the world in this format. There's a different kind of commercial connect in that, Air Canada's baggage handlers performed on last year's show. How many of us were pissed off at Air Canada baggage carriers and delay of our bags? Well, exactly.
Yeah.
So can you speak to that, how it changes people's perceptions, whether it's a police department or...
Yeah. I think one of the things that's really brilliant about this new format, back to what we were touching on earlier about Star Racer and really discovering that was a format that didn't really play to our market, although it may play internationally. And there's interest in it internationally. Battle of the Blades, which plays perfectly to our format and is certainly saleable in countries around the world like Russia, Finland, countries that are Nordic like we are. A show like Canada Sings, which is really our third original reality format, is a show that we really feel is saleable all around the world, and we have a lot of interest around the world in this format, and for many reasons, and I want to touch on what John's saying here, but it's about everyday people in every country. There's everyday people who work, who want to come together with their coworkers and do something for a greater good. It's really, really appealing to companies for exactly what John's saying, which is, it may not be an integration where we have a sponsor who buys in, but it's an absolute opportunity for any company to get good PR and to break the boundaries of how we might see these people. So we judge people, we all do in life. We walk around, we think people who work at an airline are like this, people who work at a bank are like this, people who work in a bar are like this, and we have judgments, and that's natural and normal. And what's really exciting about this show, and what I think speaks to when we're back to the real conversation about original formats, what speaks to a successful format that can sell anywhere is that it's such a pure concept, and it has built into it an opportunity that works for advertisers, although it's the company in this situation, that allows a company to put a group of employees together, and instead of them directly saying, look at how great our company is, it's look at how our coworkers are going to come together and do something to make the world a better place, which is kind of really in the culture right now, a big, it's a populist thing right now. What's the word, the zig?
It's in the culture.
Yeah. So we're so excited about this show, and I think that we have we're in season 2 now, double the amount of applications. Massive companies and organizations want to be involved in this show. You name it, national brands in this country applied this season because it's a unique opportunity for them to integrate their company or their product in a way that hasn't been done before, and in a way where they can be seen in a different light. So I think season 1 of this show really showed the corporate culture in this